9/2025. The time is 6:45 p.m. Please call the roll.
Member Wyrick?
Here.
Member Owens?
Here.
Member Cleister?
Here.
Member Stroya?
Here.
Member Waring?
Here.
Member Matheny?
Here.
Member Orr?
Here.
7 present.
Okay, at this time, we'll begin the public portion of our agenda. The first topic is going to be ordinance 26/2025. Lee, would you please read the title for the record?
An ordinance finalizing the annexation of one parcel owned by the city of North Canton located on Whipple Avenue Northwest, Wise Avenue Northwest by establishing the zoning of the parcel as General Business B and establishing the City Council voting ward as Ward 1.
All right, I think this is why everybody's here tonight.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, as Liam said, this is the annexation of Whipple and Wise, and this would be to make it General Business B and voting in Ward 1. At this time, is anyone wanting to speak in favor of ordinance 26/2025?
Is that just the north side of Maple then, it's not?
Yeah, say just, you know, the topic.
Frank Warbaugh, 273 Elm Street, Southwest. Okay. So is that just the north side then, of Maple, or the side where they've been building? Are they building on the south side?
It's, yeah, so. I can't.
Yeah.
It's north of the previous property that we annexed, over there across from Valley View. So it's north of was previously annexed north of Maple Street on the other side of the,
So it's
that
more
car
like the
dealership.
large area going towards northwest auto or whatever?
It's north of northwest.
Okay. Okay. That's all.
Anyone else wanting to speak in favor?
Got no problem with it.
Anybody wanting to?
You need to stand up and state your name and address first since you spoke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Martin Fairstead, 858 Valley Drive Northwest. I don't see any problem with that. Basically at the end of my subdivision, so. You want people in favor of it?
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? 26. Final call. Okay, this will appear on council. Second topic is going to be the city's overnight parking ordinance.
It's not an ordinance technically, it's just a discussion. Yeah.
It is the ordinance. We're talking about the ordinance.
Oh, fair enough.
Okay, so I think everybody knows why we're here and what we're going to talk about. So the restriction currently is between 2 and 6 o'clock. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of ordinance 26/2025?
For clarity, since we take verbatim minutes, see your name and address, if you stand at the podium, everybody.
This is favor of overnight parking.
Yes, this is in favor. For
It's, in favor of, the code as written.
oh, okay, sorry, yeah, all right, gotcha. Okay, all right. Okay. So at this time, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the overnight parking code as written? Yeah,
Go ahead.
just, anyone that wants to speak in favor, just come up to the podium and state your name and address so you get to speak.
If you're in favor of keeping it as it is
Yes.
now,
Mhm.
go to the podium.
2 to 6. All be in favor of sitting at home.
President, I mean,
Yeah.
the sign-in was for the council meeting.
Oh,
Public speaks
okay.
and open.
Thank you.
I'll just get Jolene Gonzalez, 332 Portage Street Northwest. Thank you for the opportunity to express some thoughts on the proposed parking ban change. The
past several days leading up to this evening have resulted in the same concerns expressed with each conversation I've had with local neighbors. We believe this change would really invite further issues that would require more manpower and time to monitor and deal with the current system. If I understand correctly, this proposed change is being made in part because the North Canton Police expressed a challenge with handling people being uninformed of the city's rule. They are encountering people who are upset with getting tickets for not knowing about the overnight parking ban. We value our PD, their time and service in our community very much, but still we can't help but question whether this is actually the solution. Where exactly is this unmanageable influx of violations happening? How often are they occurring? Is it taking place primarily around heavily populated rental areas that see frequent changes in residency? Are we changing a rule that has helped to keep our city streets beautiful and safe because of a fraction of the population, including temporary residents, rental residents, and their guests who will not remain local long enough to even see the long-term outcome of these changes? Perhaps some extra signage in those problem areas with the purpose of notification being served to guests that come to the city, for example, would cost a lot less long-term than the potential workload to manage the obvious changes. The current parking ban is pretty straightforward with some exceptions permitted. The overwhelming majority of us understand and adhere to the ban easily. The what-if rules to all the variables this would most assuredly create and the subsequent enforcement of those expectations that would be required for the ban removal would far outweigh the burden of the time spent on the matter currently. There has to be some sort of technology that allows the department to keep track of a grace waiver of first-time offenders, for example, who receive a ticket. We can assume those people would be considered educated at that point. Any further violations would be standing. Are there really this many people breaking the rule every night that this can't be dealt with using a simple system to track first-time tickets issued rather than creating an issue that will result in more stress on the system ultimately? Lastly, to bring this issue closer to home, our street in particular, which is the dead end of Portage Street, is already narrow enough, making the school drop-off times a bottleneck mess with congestion, which I'm told his neighborhood wouldn't happen, but I digress on a whole nother topic there. This should be considered a safety issue for emergency vehicles, never mind the idea of cars parked long-term on our street, adding to the frustration. I note a prime example over the last couple of months of an individual who let their car sit on a nearby street rather than on their empty driveway. Storm debris sat around the car for weeks. It was an eyesore, not to mention some difficulty it added for a neighbor backing out of their own driveway due to where the car sat. Ultimately, taking several inquiries to have enforcement actually carried out. This is just one car, one scenario. How will you enforce this when snow removal is needed? You will have permitted residents to park longer term overnight across the entire city. What level of additional manpower will it take to try and enforce moving cars when people claim they are uninformed or forget the new rules for snow removal? Please consider this reversal carefully. What might be conceived as a simple change can really lead to a downhill slide so many of us do not wish to see in North Canton. We enjoy our clear, clean streets. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I guess I'll go next.
Oh, I
No,
think we
Chuck,
have somebody
you
else.
go.
Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street Southeast, North Canton, Ohio. For over a half a century, North Canton has not allowed parking on city streets between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. That long has stood the test of time and has served the neighborhoods of this city well for over 50 years. Apparently, a very small minority does not share that viewpoint. Could this be due to their failure to better plan the use of their property? Or possibly they find it inconvenient to shuffle cars around in their single lane driveway. I will leave you a photo, and I've already left it up there. This is a neighbor across the street. They have a now adult college-age children who come and go, and as you can see, two of their children are parking on the street, and the entire length of their driveway is clear for parking. They choose not to use it. And this goes on daily. I will leave you with a photo of a near neighbor across the street whose now adult children believe the city street is their designated parking spot day and night, despite the fact that the family's driveway goes unused and could easily accommodate all the family's vehicles. And as another example, my next door neighbor has a 2-car garage at the end of their single lane driveway, but does not utilize it for the very purpose it was built. Instead, they leave out 2 cars year-round to weather in the heat, cold, ice, and snow. I am sure there are situations where a family may need a temporary waiver on the now required overnight parking. But for the most part, I would suspect that it is easier to impose on the public at large and park in the street. In the late 1980s, in addition to the overnight parking ban, parking at any other time was limited to 2 hours at that time. The 2-hour parking limitation was later dropped, allowing unlimited parking outside the nighttime parking ban. 2 years ago, there was a proposal to allow residents to pay a fee to waive compliance with the overnight restriction. Thankfully, that proposal was not adopted. There seems to be a continuing push to unravel our city's parking standards, and those efforts will lead to a deterioration of our neighborhoods. My wife and I shuffled cars for a number of years in the late 80s through the early 2000s because parking in the street was simply unacceptable for us. Growing tired of moving vehicles around, we went to a great effort and expense to create added parking behind our home. We live on a very narrow street, and any car parked on the street requires traffic to cross over into the oncoming lane to avoid that parked vehicle, which then forces the traveling public to often face another car head-on. That's compounded by the fact that there's a crest on our street, and whether you're going east or west, you find your space head-on into another car coming the other way. And you can't see it till the very last minute. Our neighborhood has R50 zoning, resulting in narrow lots with numerous driveway curb cuts. It is nearly impossible to back out of one's driveway when someone is parked across the street from their driveway. Neighborhood streets should not be turned into parking lots for homeowners who desire to expand their lifestyle beyond the limits of their properties. The long-standing overnight parking ban brings safety and order to our community. It sets North Canton apart from other cities. I believe the current nighttime parking ban serves to show the public at large that North Canton is a well-run community and that City Hall is in touch with day-to-day lives of all who come to our town. After a conversation with a member of council, I discovered that our police department apparently is not comfortable with making a judgment decision whether to waive parking laws in certain situations. With that said, I would urge this council to insert additional language into our current overnight parking ban to include clearly spelling out circumstances under which the police department has the express authority to temporarily waive overnight parking requirements for situations such as driveway under construction, home health care, health aid at residence, or family emergencies come to mind. And 2, recording in a public journal the addresses of properties where residents ask for and receive a temporary waiver of overnight parking laws. This would allow the police, the administration, members of council, and the public at large to review approved waivers of nighttime parking restrictions and that are possibly being abused in the receipt of those waivers. As children, our parents required us to return our toys to our rooms and put them away so as not to impose on other members of the family. This rule allowed the entire family to enjoy a safe and orderly home. Adults should adopt the same mindset outside their homes as well, so as not to disrupt the harmony of our neighborhoods and our greater community. Thank you. And
Thank you, Chuck.
are 2 of these enough handed out to you guys?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie J. Roll, 308 Portage Street, Northwest, North Canton, Ohio. First, I think it would be safe to say most of us live our lives from our personal experiences. Second, when our daughters lived at home from high school through college, we had 4 drivers and cars stacked in the driveway of our single-car driveway. There were many nights of juggling cars to adjust to who was leaving the house first the next morning. We accepted this inconvenience as we were aware of the ban on parking on the street between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. So I have some empathy for families in similar situations. But I suggest those families make a plan for how to accommodate the existing ordinance. Third, my fear is once the restriction of parking on city streets between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. is rescinded, how many abandoned vehicles will be among those parked cars? Until this past weekend, a car had been parked on a city street for 4 weeks in our immediate neighborhood, and it was a lengthy process to have that vehicle removed. My councilman, Jamie McLeister, helped in that process. Another vehicle, a short distance from our home, has been abandoned for over a year. Some individuals do not want to go through the process of disposing of a vehicle they no longer plan to drive. Fourth, North Canton has many narrow streets, as we all know. Many do not have no parking signs. Rescinding this ordinance most likely will open a floodgate of on-street parking both during the day and the night. I believe rescinding this ordinance will anger far more citizens than the small percentage of residents who receive parking tickets. Not being able to get out of your driveway because of multiple cars parked in the area will certainly be a flashpoint for citizens. Fifth, why not devise a system for the overnight parking restriction that starts with a warning? After 2 warnings, a ticket is issued. A reasonable person would then find another location for their vehicle. Please keep the current ordinance in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Follow-up question real quick. So the abandoned cars, those were on the street for 4 weeks and for a year?
They're 2 separate.
Oh, okay.
One is the one that Jolene referred to, and Jamie can probably give you a lot of history on that. It was removed today.
But took 4 weeks?
Yeah,
Well,
He was
can I,
on, yeah.
can I,
Ben can
was
give
that
you-
car parked on Royer?
yeah.
Yes.
So were you also informed that that person called and got permission from the police department? to
Not
park
initially.
overnight? That's why the car was there. He did the
Right.
process that we have right now, of
Mhm.
calling and asking, and he got permission.
So, I'm
Right.
sorry, am I?
Indefinitely?
He had a time
Or
period.
he-
There were
whatever
2
time period
different,
he asked for.
there were,
If I may, when
Yeah.
I did the research on that, when I was asked a question about it, I discovered he was cited 1 time.
Mhm.
After he was cited that time, he must have become informed that he could call and request permission. So on different variations of time, not all consecutive, he has asked for permission and has been granted permission for lack of a reason to deny him permission.
Was there a reason they couldn't park, move the car?
A reason he couldn't move the car, that he was given permission to park there.
Am I allowed to say? If his driveway is completely empty, shouldn't that be part of the process of determining whether it's permitted or not? Do you know what I mean, though?
Suggested, usually we ask them. We don't check to see whether the driveway is permitted.
So that's why we were inquiring, because we see his empty driveway and he's dumped his car on the street.
Do not know the reason why he explained to them, called in and asked for permission. I just noticed he was granted permission because we didn't have a reason to deny him permission.
and just for the sake of clarification, it was not a constant 1 month time. It was
permission was granted, from what you shared with me, chief, 3 different times.
Yes.
So.
But the car didn't move during that time.
I didn't see it move, and I
Yeah.
drive past every single day, and it's right outside our property. So
Well, today-
whatever he told you,
As of today,
It's, yeah, as of today, that's right.
and his permission expired yesterday.
Yes.
And I apologize, last week when I was asked this question, I was going to exceed because he was in his permission timeframe. It was pouring down rain when I went to go walk outside, and for sake of staying dry, I deferred, and then I got busy with.
can I just note, Jamie provided the periods of time that he got exceptions, and there was a gap of time where he didn't have exception and it was still there. So we're not trying to be prudes or anything, but like when you see your neighbor's driveway's empty, and my neighbor next to me kept saying like, it's tricky to back out of my driveway because this car is like right there. So I understand there's a process for approval, but if people are just taking the homeowner's word as the word, and there's actual people that are calling in to see like what's going on, like we're not trying to be jerks about it. We just realize you might not be getting the whole story, if that makes sense.
Understood.
And I think that we have hit on at least one of the reasons that the officers who brought this up shared with me of they would appreciate some clarity in the ordinance
Yeah.
of what do I do if somebody has called to ask permission, but also one of their neighbors has called to complain.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
So if he would call tomorrow and ask for extension, what would happen? Currently, we would approve it.
That's the problem, yeah.
Well, he was cited once, okay, he was cited once and he's paid that day, okay. So he is aware of it, so he's aware to call in for permission.
There would be, I think there needed to be clarity once you get a permit to park on the street. Maybe you go another 3 months without parking and something like that.
I just want to get this.
Okay.
This is the purpose.
Right, yeah, I understand this stuff. That was just curious.
It is a very heartbreaking subject for everybody that is personally touched by it. And it can also be very contentious. And many times, because my officers do their job, they get chastised and berated for doing it.
Right.
Because of how contentious parking can be, both sides.
Makes sense.
Anything else?
No, thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
I'll try and keep this short. Martin Harrison, 58 Valley Drive, Northwest. I have occasionally used the permission. I did it for my daughter's wedding, where several out-of-town guests were coming and staying at the house, and there just plain wasn't enough room in the driveway. I've got a question as to why so many people are parking on the street in town anyway. Is it because they have too many cars to fit in their driveway? Is there a way that the town can, I know that there is a ban on multiple entrances to the property through the curb, which eliminates circle drives, which could eliminate the need for street parking. I know I've been here 30 years. I juggled cars when my teenagers were in school to keep them out of the street because my driveway isn't very big. And having two, and my wife worked, so where it was 4 cars, we were juggling in the driveway. And yeah, it's a problem. And I don't know why the town has a ban on circle drives, basically. Because there's a lot of senior citizens that it would be much safer for them, and a lot of streets in this town where it would be much safer to be able to go through your circle and pull out forward onto the street than to back into traffic. I'm sure that probably any officer here would say it's safer to pull in through an intersection to back through it. For various reasons. But that would give the homeowners more parking space for the overnight parking and their daytime parking. I mean, I can see a few reasons why. I mean, if the lot's too narrow for it or whatever. But I don't see a whole lot of reason why anybody should be parking on the street in North Canton at all. Because, I mean, we have big enough lots, unless there's ordinances that you can only have so many cars on your property. But like me, there's a lot of longtime homeowners who have, teenagers that get their driver's licenses and now they've got extra cars. You've got two working, households. They've got two cars. Most of these lots, especially in this part of North Canton, were designed for single car families, where the one person was staying at home and the other one was working. Things have changed. And I don't know why that ban on the circle drives was put in, but is it still appropriate in town? I'd rather see a circle drive than cars parked out on the street. And I think circle drives make the property look like it's more valuable inside, so. It might be better to try and figure out why all these cars are parked on the street, rather than, try to change this. I mean, this is working for most of the time.
On many of the lots you're referring to, the circle drives are just not enough room. They're so close to the curb, there's no radius.
I understand, there are a lot of lots that are too small for it, so if that ordinance should be, if somebody requests to put in a circle drive,
And they have the property.
check to see if the frontage is wide enough to accommodate it.
Right.
Because, I mean,
And we, honestly, we have all the listings of everybody who received citations and what streets are affected. So we have a pretty good idea of where maybe that could apply and where it couldn't. And most of them, it probably wouldn't work for the circle drive.
I know that my next door neighbor, has two teenage sons. One of them, I don't know if they both live with him or not, but I know one of them pulls his car out every morning and parks it in front of the house all day.
Which he's allowed to do.
Which he's allowed to do.
Allowed to do.
And he has started parking it in front of his property, so it's not making it a hazard for me to back out of my driveway. I know there's a lot of I've got a situation where I have, when I back out, I have Valley Drive to look both ways. I've got the sidewalk for pedestrians I've got to pay attention to. I've got Bel Air just diagonally to my drive, which I have to make sure nobody's coming out of there. And then I have a homeowner whose driveway is almost directly across from mine, that I also have to make sure that they're not backing out when I back out. And I do believe my property, even though it's rather narrow, would be wide enough to accommodate a circle drive. I don't want one, I don't need one anymore. But is part of the problem just the fact that we've got older residents that have been here for years, and there's just too many cars to fit in their limited amount of parking area? Is there anything that could be done with that? It's just, I've spent my life and my living asking why. So that's, that's where we're at on that, you know, that's, you know, why is everybody parking on the street? Maybe that needs to be addressed rather than the parking ban. Yeah, look at the ordinances, or, well, look at the rules and see if they're still applicable. I know that there's a lot of federal laws and stuff, and town laws in different towns that were put in place decades ago that don't work anymore, but they're still enforceable because nobody did anything about it. So, yeah, I wanna know, you know, I don't need to know why right now, but take a look at why we have so many cars needing to be parked on the street. You know, is it that the families just don't wanna juggle cars in the driveway? Or is their driveway just plain too small for the number of cars that they have now because they've got teenagers and they've lived here for 16 years or more? So that's pretty much all I have to say is that, you know,
Thank you.
it's a matter of, you know, why have we got the problem in the first place?
Right,
Thank you, Mark.
thank you so much.
Yes.
Well, I think she's walking
People
up.
just walking. People are waiting behind everybody.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy Rizzoletti, 146th Street Northeast. Just like everybody else, I would like the ordinance to stay the way it is. I think for most of the older neighborhoods, the streets are just not wide enough. Our street, we live close to the high school, but our street is so narrow that you are only allowed to park on one side of the street. My husband and I measured the width of the street from curb to curb. It is only 24 feet wide. So if you have cars that are there overnight, we turn into, even when the cars are parked during the day, and that is completely fine. Everybody has friends and things, but we turn into a one-way street. It becomes a hazard for emergency vehicles, for anybody else. It's just not practical. I would love to be able to have my neighbors who have single-car garages to have more parking, but it's just not practical or safe when you turn these these old neighborhoods into a bunch of one-way streets. So in the terms of practicality, and sympathy for you who don't have good guidelines to deal with the public that complains, but I think it's nice that we have where you can write in and say, hey, I've got somebody overnight, you know, those exceptions, those should be allowed. But in a practical speaking matter, it's just not practical and it's not safe. So please keep it as it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
I am Ida Lesh at 505 Sunset Boulevard Southwest here in town. And I promise to be brief. Unfortunately, I'll be somewhat redundant because of it. But you've all noticed how many cars are on properties now. Some are in driveways, some are in their yards. My biggest concern is safety for ambulances, fire trucks coming down, and I want to feel safe. And I won't feel safe if you take that ordinance away. And basically, that's it. I don't need to say more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt Warble, 217 Elm Street Southwest, North Canton, Ohio, again. I kind of have a mix of pro and con. Also want to feed off a couple other people's comments, if that's okay. So first thing, the gentleman just recently spoke. Yeah, you talk about the 30 years, and Valley sounds like you're down here behind the park. Would that be correct?
Let's put it this way, I can see this building out my bedroom window.
Okay, so you talked about yard size, so I'm not sure in your 30 years how much you driven through the basis of North Canton that's existing for over 50 years, which is literally from, let's say, Lindy Lane to Howard to 7th or 9th and about Schneider. Well, no, not even Schneider, Bechtel. And the majority of those homes, I mean, I had not thought about it until you said there is a house in the corner of Bechtel and Pershing that my friend used to live in, and somewhere since his family moved, does have a circle in their front yard. But basically every house, the majority of those houses in that area I just said, not a single one of them would have room for a circle drive. I understand the ease, and it was a great concept. You also talk about backing out as an issue. Have you thought about backing in? And you can pull up. I back into my driveway. I have the smallest lot on my street, but I was privileged enough that it sits back. So, and it's got width in front of the garage, a 2-car garage, so with the right plan, we can actually put 6 or 7 cars in the driveway, even though it's a single lane driveway until you get by the garage. But so, I know not everybody has that privilege. My neighbor across the street can barely have the length of 1 car, but they're wide enough for 3. So not to pick at you, sir, I just was asking because I was concerned about that circle thing. The 50-year-old plus original base of the city, I don't see anybody having room.
And I mentioned that I know there's a lot of lots that are too narrow for that to work.
Yeah, you get over there around the Uber company, and some of them still have little stubby driveways too.
I feel sorry for the owner of the property at the corner of Maple and, I can't remember the name of the street, right down here at the stop sign.
I've seen it, you know.
Their driveway literally backs into the intersection. And they do have the room to have, so they can back out of their driveway and have an arc and pull onto the other street. I mean, and it would make it a lot safer for them to be, whether they're pulling.
Real quick, this is all going to committee afterwards, so the 7 of you can still have more discussion from all the ideas, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, not tonight. No. All right, so secondly, real quick, because I have my little bullet points, and I'm trying to shorten up. Want to feed off of Mr. Osborne's comments, and Chief, you know I have completely respect your whole department. But so like Mr. Osborne suggested, and Chief is suggesting he doesn't have. If it does stay in place, there needs to be more black and white on what his officers follow as far as even taking the call for permission, how many times, whatever. And, I understand your officers are getting flagged, but and I'm not saying they deserve that, they shouldn't. And that's, if anybody turn on TV today and watch Down West, there's no respect for the police. They need respect. They deserve respect. They were sworn to uphold the laws. They are black. I'm not trying to get political, but, even a freaking traffic ticket for you to go off on a parking ticket, then you guys, I understand, we want to keep the friendly neighborhood and stuff, and I'm not trying to say you're not doing it, Chief, but your department, you guys, you got a great team, and they deserve respect. Anyway, I live on a narrow street in my area. We don't have a North Canton City School anymore, but we still have a functioning school. It's a Stark County school. Now I have buses from all over creation coming down my street, Plain Township, Jackson, Strasburg. I mean, it's like, so I have 1 car, 2 houses down, or 1 house, 2 houses. They religiously have somebody park in the street all day long. And that's fine, that's legal. My other neighbor, which is right before a stop sign, but he parks at his house at the distance in the driveway, so I guess that's the legal part of being too close to the stop sign. He will park in front of my house. So you've got people that come up this narrow road, because it's only 1 lane if you have to pass them, and you've got the buses coming down, and it used to really be bad if you had the car line, and anybody that knows me and my thing about car line, but anyhow, and unfortunately, I'm seeing it not just on my street, but many streets. I'm sure even the chief is seeing it. People have lost the understanding that you're taught in driver's ed, if you've got the car in your lane, you wait while the other car passes.
That's right.
I have an issue, another street, a couple streets over from me, city public officials' vehicle is always in the road, and that one, people, because it's a wider road, they'll decide to just go around and come at it when I have the right of way, if I'm trying to go on that road. So ultimately, I believe in keeping the ban, no disrespect, I understand again what the police department's looking for, or they need a solid plan, either one, with keeping the ban, enforcing it, or secondly, I also believe in a color-coded reflective window sticker that years ago, we had, the state actually had, inspections for vehicles. Some states still do, you might have seen them. They go down the bottom corner of the driver's side window. So if you color-coded them to length of time, and they actually purchased a permit, a little bit of revenue for the city, they purchased the permit, the officers could drive towards them, making sure, because most streets you can only park on one side anyhow. Officers drive by with their spotlight, they quickly see the reflective of the color. Good to go. Just, I mean, obviously you'd have to build up a little bit. And I've also had it mentioned that some people have a hard time even putting up some handicap placards, but, so you give them one free pass. And then even if they, they say, well, I've got a sticker and you gave me a ticket, you get one free pass, and next time if you still don't have your sticker applied, you get the ticket, and it's black and white. Because what I'm really concerned about, and this might be getting carried away, is if we take this away, they talked about the abandoned cars earlier. We can start seeing RVs out there and people camping in the street, and how long are they gonna camp out in the street? If you do have an RV, be it a towable or a driven, that maybe the most that they get is a 2-day permit, because, a lot of people don't want to park in it, because they can't park in the grass in their yards, and they might be limited, maybe they wouldn't, but, so maybe they get a 2-day permit to avoid the street living. Also ensure that we get no semi drivers, dropping their trailer off the truck stop, and hey, I'm gonna start parking my semi in the street now at night. No commercial vehicles, no work trailers, landscape companies, you're gonna have those guys start, and, full respect for those guys, they're local companies, local business, I support local business. But now, hey, I don't have to try to back my long landscape trailer up in my driveway here at night, and I'll just park in the street. And so you'll turn into a parking lot. So either drop the ban with a permit program of some sort, or keep the ban and give his department some rules to stand by so that they don't turn into a month-long or however long clunker in the road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
And thank you for turning this around.
Yes.
Audrey Bond, 238 Portage Street, Northwest. So I won't share any personal stories. I just, from all that I've heard, would like to kind of pinpoint a few things here. Our police do a great job in our community trying to keep people safe. Their job is to enforce the law. It sounds like our current parking ban or anything else we would do would require clearer guidelines for them to follow. So, from what Councilman Warren said, there are some people that are struggling just to live and park and get where they're going. I also know from my other neighbors on Portage Street that school or any kind of overnight parking would create safety issues. Our street is one of the oldest. My home is over 100 years old, so it's definitely not very wide, much like the other, other streets in the area. So I would recommend that we keep the parking ban in place. It will enhance safety, especially for emergency vehicles that have to come, service vehicles for electric, for our service lines, for all of that. It will also continue to deter renters in the area from having parties and excessive people over. There are many homes in North Canton, in all of the areas mentioned today, that are rentals. That was one of our reasons to move into the city 15 plus years ago, was because it was safe. Because we had an excellent police department, we had an excellent city council, the streets were safe, there weren't cars, there wasn't any of that happening. So, I would like to leave the clarification to the council, and ask for that from you guys. Police, we thank you for all you do. Council, we thank you for all you do. Safety and parking can make or break a city. So my personal opinion is lifting the ban would not help North Canton as a whole, but create more problems. So if we could clarify that and make their job easier to enforce things, keep emergency vehicles accessible to all properties at all the time, and then perhaps zoning can work with those homes that are having parking issues to give them, make the permit process easier to put an extra parking spot in their property, wherever that may make the most sense, but to make that process easier and more accessible with, of course, options for, you have to have live-in help for a reason or what have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I make one quick comment?
No, not right now. You can, in the next version of Public Speaks here, well,
If you're going to revise,
No,
not right now. We're
out of
giving other
time.
people, yeah, we're trying to get through as many people as we can.
Just don't forget the garbage pickup.
Alice Jones, 1960. As was mentioned earlier, the streets are very, very narrow. The one thing I want to bring up that I haven't heard yet is the snow plows. That would be a big concern of ours, especially because we're narrow. The snow plow would be able to put down safely without damaging the car and the plows. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You want to carry 175? Neil, our curious. 175 Winston Avenue Northeast. I actually live like on the corner of Pittsburgh and Winston. Okay. I think it's got a corner from the old Chiefs house. Streets wide. But I understand why people don't want to use it. I'm actually in a situation where I'm not abusing it. I've gotten ticketed. Gotten permission. And there's sometimes when I'm gonna get a ticket, I just say, heck, yes, I have, go across my house, you'll find out that the way it's set up, we'd have to change the house or to make the driveway accessible in a way where it would be big enough. Right? There's really no way to do it. It's a small 4-car driveway. If you look through the whole neighborhood, it's the smallest driveway in the entire lot. We have 2 smaller vehicles, 2 larger vehicles. We have pickup, and we have a Jeep, and then 2 small cars for the younger adults. We run into a situation where one of the adults has to drive to Youngstown and work in a hospital until about 1 in the morning. Come back about 2. Wife leaves at 6 a.m. Teacher, and she has to go to Akron. She has to do ahead of school. And so we run into situations where, what are you going to do? Get the person up after 3 or 4 hours? Tell them, okay, you got to go move your car. So you run in, and also you have another situation in society as well, where you have people don't have the funding they used to have. Things are tighter, things are more expensive. You have a lot of children living at home. Because of that, you're going to have more cars. So I understand both sides of this issue. I'm obviously telling you my side because I'm in a situation where I'm just going to have to keep parking tickets because there's a bunch of times where there's going to be a car on the street. I actually have a list of all my different kids, their license plate numbers and things like that, so that anytime there's a get-together, I can go to the police, ask permission, and they'll be on the street. But like, for instance, this coming weekend, I'm going to have a bunch of people over. It's somebody's birthday. There's going to be a bunch of cars. There's nowhere to park them except on the street. Do I know all their license and all that? No, I don't. I have no idea. Okay, so I'm going to be in a situation again. So on the other side of the coin, I certainly understand why people don't want parking on the street, and there's the snow situation, the garbage situation, the mail trucks. If you don't abuse it, which people will always do, it's not a problem. But people abuse it, and that's where the problem comes in. But I'm just here to state my situation, needing to be able to park on the street.
All right, so this session right now is for people that wanted to say the same. So anyone speaking at this session, till we announce the next one, is hoping that it does not change. They're speaking for it not to change. So, and also,
We're not gonna
I
start.
think we're gonna put, since we're getting a lot of feedback, let's try to keep it to 5 minutes.
We're gonna set a timer like we do for every public
Right,
speak, so
yeah.
keep with that. And most people have been fine, we just wanna
Right.
make sure everyone gets the chance.
We want everybody to be able to speak.
Holly Pierpont, 333 Winston Avenue Northeast. So I will not be redundant, and I'll be quick. I, like everyone else here, appreciate our police. We have the best. I believe that. And I think we should put our focus into supporting them by putting better teeth around the existing policy and procedure in place so that they can ticket people who do abuse that policy, but also have special scenarios handled in that language. So I know that council doesn't write those rules. I don't know where in the city that happens, but I feel like that's where the focus really needs to be, because that's why we are actively all here talking about it, is they gave that kind of feedback. So let's go back to where the feedback came from. I don't think we're here because the citizens came to you and said, please lift this ban. So I'd like the focus to go back there and support our police better in giving them that type of language that they can better police that situation. Like so many people here, I could share personal experiences. And one of the things I heard when we first brought this up was that nobody's out driving between 2 and 6 a.m., so this is not a big deal. This is the 21st century. We have people who do go out and drive between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. I have a husband who leaves my house every day at 2:30 a.m. The logistics. We have our rental next to us. You guys have heard me talk about it. Up to 5 kids living there at one time, and they do walk the street every day. Perfectly okay with that. It is this ban that exists that actually is making them move their car frequently. So whereas I know it was originally written because we had street cleaning going on, and that's not the case anymore, this still has value. It resets every day the parking situation. I've heard that we could come up with solutions like a 72-hour that would, still force people to move their car from time to time. But I would argue that that's not a good rule, because first of all, you're putting the citizens in a position of policing their neighbors. Nothing good comes from that. I would hope that you wouldn't be answering calls because of that, chief. But I don't want to be looking out my window and keeping track of those 5 cars. And it's really not my business to do that, by the way. Second of all, I'm not going to look out my window for that 72-hour period and not walk away for a split second. So maybe they leave and they go to the bank and they come back and they park in the same spot. I didn't see that. So I might think they didn't leave for 72 hours when they really did. So now I might be calling in the police for an unnecessary reason. If I am going to abuse the 72-hour rule, and I know that rule exists, I could go out at the 70th hour, roll my car forward 2 inches, go back inside, and we have reset the clock. A car can sit there for days, if not weeks, before I call it in. Then the 72-hour rule begins. So there's not a lot about that rule that brings me much comfort when we talk about implementing something like that different than the existing ban. I don't think that's the answer. Those college kids that live next to me, I've got one that will park his car right at the corner of my drive. I have twins. They are 15 and a half years old. Guess what we're about to start doing in my house? So the idea of my kids, or even my husband at 2:30 in the morning in the dark, backing out with his car right up against my drive, that might keep me up at night. That's a safety concern. And, we just recently also, I think, passed an ordinance on Orchard at the request of Deagle in the sake of safety, right? We didn't want people parking on Orchard because of safety concerns. So what is the measure of safety for everyone here? Because if I have cars parking on my street for 72 hours and never moving, and let's say my neighbor has a small child who plays, there's a blind spot created there. There's so many different things about this that are not perfect, but I would go back again and say, if the reason this came up in the first place, and Mr. Young, I think you said you were having your weekly, monthly, whatever meeting with some police folks like you do. And the feedback was, hey, this is a concern, can we talk about it? That's how it came up in committee of the whole. So I can stand corrected if you guys want to correct me, I'm wrong here. I don't think you've had citizens coming to you asking for this. And so I would go back to where the concern is and put focus there, support our police, give them what they need internally to be able to reinforce this. Yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
So this is for keeping.
It's for keeping it as is.
Hi, Philip Yakinich, 1027 Valley View Street / Drive, Northwest. I'm not in favor of the ban. I've been living here 48 years. And there's been times when it was unavoidable to have a car or two parked on the street. And a lot of times they didn't get ticketed, but a lot of times they did. And I even lived right next door to one of North Canton's finest. I think that people that if this ban is lifted, say how it's going to be so badly abused, it's going to take down property values in North Canton. I don't think this parking ban makes or breaks North Canton one way or the other. I think it's an archaic law, and I would like to see the ban lifted. Because like I say, there have been unavoidable times. I understand people that live on narrow streets, and I understand people that, you know, they don't want trailers, boats, RVs. Those could be banned from parking overnight. And people that talk about people, they want to let people park on the street in North Canton. Well, people park on the street everywhere, every city, every township. I mean, that's just natural. You know, you go over to somebody's house to visit, that doesn't mean you're gonna park in their driveway. You'll park on the street. So I would like to see the ban lifted. And just another thing, I'm a gun owner. I'm not a gun nut. I don't belong to the NRA. But, you know, I'll have to say, when they talk about concealed carry weaponry in Ohio, everybody said the same kind of thing. It was going to be the Wild West. Hasn't happened. Now, you don't even have to have a permit to carry a weapon, and it still hasn't turned into the Wild West. So if this ban is lifted, I don't see the parking turning into the Wild West.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I
Just
may-
as a reminder, all right, so right now, we're speaking to not change the ordinance. So anybody speaking, only talk about if you don't want to change it. The next opportunity will be if you do want to change
Yeah,
it. So
momentarily. Yeah.
let's finish up the people that want it to stay the same first, please. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to that?
So glad to get a one wire. I don't have really anything to add, but I would like to go on record and say, I do not want the city to get looking at and valid for the appearance in the city. I'd like to keep it that way. Most of the things that people have already said, I agree with. I'm not going to go back and reiterate those, but I want to go on record as saying I want to keep it as it is.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
It's Paul Stupidus of 515 Browning Northwest, and I would agree with the last lady, and I would not be in favor of lifting the ban. I moved here 60 years ago, and I've seen a lot of different changes to the city, some good and some not so good. Roundabouts being not so good. Anyhow, people talk about inconvenience of having to move cars, then let them walk. You know, when you buy a house, you look at things like, I've got this, I've got children, what have you. We're going to have cars. Let's find a place that can accommodate us, not today, not tomorrow, but for a number of years. Now, we've lived in the house for 60 years, so we apparently picked up. We also had 4 children, all of which drove. We had 4 cars for a big span of years, and we abided by the rules and not parking on the street. We did have occasions that we had to park on the street for whatever reason. We called the police department. They took the information. No big deal. Now, I've seen people on my street who parked for long periods of time, even though the ban was in effect, and were never ticketed. They didn't move their vehicle until they were ticketed. And I didn't call, by the way. But anyhow, another thing is the safety. It's a big factor. As we saw just a few weeks ago, there was a lady that was killed down on Main Street. I don't know the details on it. That's immaterial, but things can happen when you least expect it. And when I back out of my driveway, or my way backs out of the driveway, many times we have close calls with cars coming around a corner, cutting through to avoid the roundabout probably. And now they're building a middle school over on 7th Street, which will have more teachers coming down our street because they come straight down 7th Street to Browning. We have a wide street, and they go zooming down or up in the morning and down in the afternoon. Like you want to get home like everybody else does. Another thing is what are we going to do with the snow plowing? Okay, our snow plowing people were proud of their curb, which I don't exactly agree with. We still have issues. We still have issues. How do we clean it? We take the cars on that night and we say, hey, you got to find a place to put them. And people have the condition in their minds to accommodate what they're going to do. I don't go out and buy an airplane because I don't have any space. Okay, and I'm being a little exaggerated when I say that I'd be buying an airplane. I could take one to buy a fire truck. By the way, my neighbor has one, but he keeps it away. And what I'm saying is, be responsible. I see in the paper where there are people that say, what if I have a drunk friend at my house? Now, he just didn't get drunk automatically. Get up in the morning, I'm drunk and I'm going over to Charlie's place. Hey, Charlie, I'm drunk. So Charlie has to take him home, whatever he got to do. He didn't get drunk at Charlie's. Maybe he did get drunk at Charlie's. And Charlie has to take the responsibility to get that guy home and leave his car on the street. And if he gets a ticket, then the ticket is going to be a lot less money than DWI. So anyhow, I'm against lifting of the ban. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to speak to not change?
Oh, my God. As you've heard, I'm forced to come up here, but that's okay. I agree with 100%. I don't want to. My neighbor right up Kirkell, 2040th Street. One of the concerns I have, and it's okay, but we have a lot of traffic with the school, parents dropping their kids off, that it's lined up clear from our house, that's Green and Portage, clear down to Hillcrest and around, and I can't imagine there's cars parked there. The bus drivers and everything else, and the parents are picking up their children, and that would not be a safety issue. So, join my neighbors saying, please keep it the same.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to speak? This will be the final call to speak to not change. Okay. All right, so now anyone wanting to speak in favor of changing, please.
In favor of changing it?
Yes.
Yes.
I am Ginger Rose, I live at 217 Cherry Drive Northwest. I have 3 children who drive and a driveway that takes 3 cars. I'm in a constant state of juggling. I can't make the driveway wide because we're not known for that. No, I can't even do, there's nothing I can do. It's an endless struggle. I'm doing it first on the street all the time in the day because it's a single lane, in and out, in and out, in and out. Garbage day, we put the cans on the other side from where we park. I think that there's a snow ban, no parking when it's snowing anyway. There's a parking ban when it snows for the snow plows to go through. No, not in the snow ban.
If it's an emergency,
Only snow
we can call an
emergency.
emergency snow ban.
It's a nightmare for me personally. I understand. But it's very hard. It feels unnecessary. I can't see us on the police on the daily or the weekly and even getting permission because we call it so often. But when it was $5 a ticket, it wasn't so bad, but now it's $25. Can you park in the grass? No, you can't park in the grass. That's a $250 ticket. That seems excessive to me, if you know what the cars on the street. I don't want my neighborhood full of abandoned vehicles or junk cars or any of that either. Just like anybody else, but I also don't feel that it's practical or realistic or even that fair for people to say, wow, you know, it's.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. What to follow up.
Anyone else wanting to speak to change the ordinance?
I'm Bob Nickel, 403 Cole Avenue Southwest. For me, I don't really care whether the ordinance is changed or not. I park in my driveway and I have room. I don't have to worry about parking on the street. But I live in an older neighborhood, and in a lot of older neighborhoods in our community, and some folks just don't have the space in their driveway to, accommodate all the cars that they have with their kids. My neighbor is a perfect example. They get 2 cars in their driveway, and their kid doesn't have a place to park. I think there has to be something in consideration of the older homes in the neighborhood where you can accommodate that kind of a situation. And also, as far as the police are concerned, I understand where they're coming from. That's got to be a pain in the ass to have to go through all of that. And neighbors get upset because they got a ticket. I've gotten more than a handful of tickets since I've lived in my house for the last 33 years. It's just the way it was. I got upset that I got them, but I knew what the rule was. Sometimes I forgot to move the car in. Sometimes I had to leave it out because my son at the time had friends over and maybe they spent the night. So I think there has to be some accommodation for that and some way to alleviate the issues with the police. But if you have time limitations on how long you can park on the street, the police are always going to have some kind of an enforcement issue. Unless you just make it a blanket, you can park anywhere, anytime, whenever you want, anywhere you want. So I think you're always going to have that kind of an issue. So I think that kind of is a problem that needs to be clarified to help our police officers. But if you're going to change the ordinance, I think it should be that you can park your car in front of your own house. But that prevents other people from just parking. I think it was brought up, what about lawn maintenance, or someone works in construction, and they want to park their vehicle on the street in front of your house on a Friday, they don't work for 3 days, then they take a couple days off, and you got a truck or a trailer sitting in front of your house. There's no limitations on commercial use. I don't like that at all. I don't want a piece of junk sitting in front of my house for the weekend. I don't even want a piece of junk sitting in front of my house for 1 hour, for that matter. I think you have to consider maybe limiting commercial vehicles that can park overnight if you're gonna change the ordinance. Also, you know, I think you almost have to have some kind of a time limitation. You just say, well, you can park overnight. Well, that means someone can park their car, just like was mentioned earlier, on the street forever, in one spot in front of your house. And maybe you need that spot. You know, a lot of folks need those spots to park with the kids they have and everything else. So it's really an inconvenience for the neighbors. So I think you've got to accommodate the neighbors, but put some restrictions on there so cars just can't be parked on the street for an extended period of time. And I don't think that's fair to the neighborhood. And I tell you, there's good arguments on both sides of this. I could see that. But I think if you're going to change the ordinance, you really have to consider the citizens that live there and what they need, along with the issues that, you know, the police have. And I understand that as well. That's really what I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, final call. What's up?
If I may say one comment.
Yeah.
Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street, Southeast. We've all seen the movie Field of Dreams. We all know the phrase, build it and they will come. I'm kind of aghast to hear that an officer comes to look at the situation. It sounds like ask and you will be given a pass. I would think an officer is skeptical enough to ask, why do you need this? Why do you need to be excused from the law? And to hear the response that cars were parked for days and days and days, there was no criteria to evaluate, is this a valid, worthy request to be waived? And then I would think, in my mind, the waiver is for that night, not for days, weeks. So police officer should be questioned.
Are you in favor of the ban? Because that's what we're talking about. Are you in favor of removing the ban?
No,
That's what
I'm
we're
just
talking
following
about
up
right
on
now.
what I've heard.
Okay, but that's
So
what
there should be a process before an officer
There's a
waives.
process, and we have all the forms and all the things that are written down, and that's a statement that somebody made, and they didn't have all the information as well. And the
Thank
chief
you.
started to say what had happened, and you don't know the information as well.
So that was final opportunity. This
Is that
will be discussed.
Should we give another final, like, good,
Oh,
go ahead. I'm like,
I mean-
did everyone know that was the last time to speak in favor of removing the ban?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So this will appear. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Sorry.
Is this for, you're in favor of removing the ban?
I'm just in favor of changing the ban. I'm still supporting the ban, but just changing it.
Yeah.
So kind of like split. Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
So my name is Sam Palmar, 914 Schneider Street. Sorry? Sam Palmar, 914 Schneider Street, Southeast. So I'm a homeowner in North Canton. My wife and I purchased a property on Schneider Street in late February. On May 27th, we received an overnight parking ticket for our, while we had basically a newly paved driveway that was drying. Our vehicles, they were temporarily parked on Overage Street. We were unaware of this 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. parking restriction. And we only found out about it after we
receive the citations. Fortunately, we were able to work with the police department in the city, that ticket avoided, so thank you. My neighbor also received a ticket the same night. So basically, as new residents, we have this challenge where we're not informed of these rules in advance. And I think this is a common issue that a lot of others are facing who are moving into this county. And I don't really mind the overnight parking ban. I think that's understandable, especially hearing the residents' concerns. But I just respectfully suggest that the city consider some sort of first-time warning system to inform new residents, specifically when there's no prior history of violations. So this could basically create a more welcoming and reasonable approach for those who are still learning the local ordinances in the county. And I just want to thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much.
Okay, final. Okay, so this will appear on a, well, I think it'll go back to committee at a future date. I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we're gonna take a 5-minute break so people can leave if they don't want to stay for the. call to order the City Council meeting June 9th, 2025. The time is 8:08. Opening prayer, Al Bates.
Want to comment first that I was getting a little nervous along with all my coworkers that were parked illegally in the
Right.
zone back here. Things were going to turn very, very south. I'm glad we were able to be peaceable about it. So, if you would, I invite you all to bow your heads and to orient yourself in a tradition according to which you bind yourself. I will follow my Christian tradition as we offer a word of prayer. Great and gracious God, I thank you so much for the freedoms that we enjoy in this community, that we can choose when to gather and when to exit a city council meeting, that we can voice our concerns and our interests, that we can also abide by good orderly principles and lean into making this community the best that we can. We thank you for that. We thank you for the freedoms that we thank you that we enjoy so many more beyond that. We also thank you for those who are in leadership here, helping us to organize and not be in chaos. I ask, Lord, that you would tonight help us to continue in the patience and endurance that have already been tested, that you would give us grace toward one another and charitable hearts, that you would help us to recognize that to live together in harmony, we need to embrace the tensions that we live in, where the world in which we live, the city in which we live, is a city that was built for a different time, and we've got concerns that are new. So I pray you give us breadth of view, wisdom, help us to tune in to the voices that we hear, but also understand that this is a walk of compromise. And I ask that you give strength and wisdom to our city government, all of our administrators and our council people. Give them peace and patience and goodness and fellowship with one another as they bring us to good order. Help us always to be appreciative of many things that we enjoy and all the things that we have. Help us to remember first and foremost that it's a duty of each of us to look beyond just our own simple needs, that we ought to tune in to the people around us and learn how to accommodate each other with grace. This I ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Liam, would you please call the roll?
Member Wyrick?
Here.
Member Owen?
Here.
Member McLeister?
Here.
Member Stroya?
Here.
Member Warren?
Here.
Member Nathany?
Here.
Member Orr? 7 present.
Have a motion and second to approve as presented the 2025 Vector Freightliner vac truck and the corresponding equipment contract award for the sewer department. The minutes from May 19, 2025, Committee of the Whole, the May 2025 Finance Report, and the Chapter 192 Post Ordinance 07, 2025. Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so at this time, Roy Hoyan, am I saying that right?
You did very well.
All right, hey, it's French. It's I speak French. We, so with the Stark County Family Solution Finder Learning Center.
Yes.
All right. Tony.
Thank you very much. I have a goal or a mission, and it's to help Stark County families become the most educated and informed families of all 88 counties in Ohio, and I am very competitive. But I want to see that Stark County understands that this is brain disease, and it's addiction. It's all addictions. Okay, it could be pornography, it could be alcohol, drugs, all kinds of different addictions out there. And this is, in this case, drugs and alcohol. So what we're finding is that when somebody typically starts their addiction, there's 5 stages to it. And they take it, they like it, their brain records it in the hippocampus, and then the reward system says, by the way, we like that. And then they get back to I think I want to do it again. Okay, so now they're out doing it again. This could be an adult, the age bracket, some are saying started at 14, 13, all the way to 34. That's a major bulk of what we're dealing with in terms of addiction. I am a chemical dependency counselor assistant. Didn't renew my license this year, but I've been that up to now. And I'm also a certified mental health coach specializing in families dealing with addictions. Then they move to full addiction. Now the brain has totally rewired itself. It creates new channels for communicating. It overrides the frontal cortex, which is where our executive function is done. And it is totally driven to pleasure. They're totally out of the ability to counter this. They can't logic themselves, they can't riddle themselves, and now their total focus is to get the drug. But that changes, because then it is, now I'm taking the drug to avoid withdrawal, because at that point, they have experienced the beginning of withdrawal. Withdrawal is similar to having every bone breaking in your body at the same time you're in sweaty fever. It's a terrible, terrible situation. You don't want to be there. You will do anything not to go through withdrawal. Mine's already telling you, like it tells you to have a glass of water, you have to get more of the drug. Eventually, a kind of like resistance is built up, and you have to go to higher potencies. So here's the crossover, detox. Okay, only 10% of those using in our communities actually go to detox. CPW, okay? 10%, 90% are out there. Now we see in the police, when they're interfering with my habit, is the way that they look at it, it's because more than likely I've committed a criminal act in order to finance money, or I've overdosed, or I've fatally overdosed. But the fact is, that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's a very small amount of people. The bulk of the people who are out there are using right now, and they're not coming up on our radar because they're using now. And that's the 90% we're talking about. So getting them into detox is a very big deal. Why do I tell you all this? Because there's something we can do about it. As they move through detox, 3 stages, usually about 7 to 14 days, they're then be visited with a social worker and say, okay, we're going to put you in a treatment center. They get AMA, they get a kids put up on advice and say, no, not me. I'm going home, I'm feeling better. It's been 14 days. There's no way they're going to make it. Okay, they're going to be usually through a relapse. Because when they try it again, they come at this high level that they stopped at, but their body changed. And now it's way too much for them. So they overdose or they get right back into full addiction very quickly. And now we're dealing with criminal acts to finance it. And we really have problems in our community. So why am I bothered to take the time? Because this is impacting the families. These are innocent people and they love this person, or they used to. Now they're starting to realize that this person is somebody that they hate. And this is creating a real bad friction in our community. It's showing up at work, it's showing up at schools. The sister is now cutting herself because her brother is addicted. The father feels that he can't protect his family. He's starting to drink. The mother is failing at work because she's staying up to 3 in the morning crying in her pillow. This is a mess. So I'm looking at the city council and I'm saying, hey, this is going on right now. While we're doing this meeting, 3 people died in Ohio, okay, from an overdose. So what are we left to do? The families. Nobody talks to them. Nobody goes near them. We don't educate them. And that's why I want to offer to the city of North Canton this program, which can be installed in the family's home. These are 32 issues that we know the families are going to go through. This is all NIH information boiled down to their level, and it is put in a television episode called Fentanyl and Families in Harm's Way. It's aired in counties across the United States, in Lowell, Massachusetts, Napa Valley, Bozeman, Montana. And so what we're doing is we're saying, if you're enabling, you better learn what enabling is. There's 10 types of enabling. Change happens in 5 stages. What are they? You learn these things. We need to educate our families. Ignorance is the oxygen for the drug epidemic. When I was in Costa Rica setting up an international network of hospitals, I asked the surgeon, how did you guys stay out of the Sandinista wars? I mean, that must have been hard. He said, well, Roy, we had an opportunity. We could stand up an army, or we could go educate the villages. And we chose the latter. And now Costa Rica is one of the most literate communities in Central America because of a lot of reasons, but that has nothing to do with it. So what I want to do is I want to visit your coaches. And I want to give them 12 of these seminars, okay? What I want to do is I want to visit with your police department. And I want to give them a case of these so that when they're on a call, they can pull it out of their vehicle and the chief decided this is a program that you want to do. I'm not putting it in time place, I'm just saying this is, I'm offering this to all communities. I want to visit with your, you see, I'm picking stakeholders in our community where these people go, where these families go, the employer. They sit there saying, Donna, you're not doing well at work. Well, my son is addicted to methamphetamine. I don't know what to do. We're getting crushed here. Come on now. We've got the ability now available. Let's give it to them. How about the other stakeholders? Community agencies. They go down and they say, I need to turn the water back on. Doesn't happen all the time. But in that case, we could do something about it. Is this getting kind of redundant? I'm sorry if it is. But then again, I don't have this opportunity to talk to people who actually have the ability to do something here. I'm the only voice out here doing this. The treatment centers don't talk to families. There's no bill. You can't bill anybody and get reimbursed to take the time to do this. So pastors, now you know that these people are going to the pastor and saying, my husband is an alcoholic and he's ruining our family. And so what are we giving the pastor? He can give this family this book. This family comes up online with us and we'll guide them through all of this learning. So also the legal court system. These are all places where people go to use services in the membrane of our society, of which you actually have annually. You have the ability to make a difference. I don't know how. So you sit there and say, boy, where's the ask in all of this? Help me. I don't know how. I do know that I want Stark County to be the most educated and informed families of all counties in the state of Ohio. And I think we can do that. Need your help. It's just me. I have no funding. I'm not asking for funding, just asking for your influence, your ideas. So thank you very much. Each of you have my business card. I would love to go into your wards, and if you're so inclined to have me talk to the general public, we could do that, and we could discuss exactly how we would approach that dialogue. This is another way to grassroots. You hold a session. If you're going up for re-election, the families do vote, and I think that those families that see somebody in public office that cares so much about them, bring them knowledge of the topic that's just crushing them. Because it might not be them, but it's their best friend. How many people here know somebody that's dealing with addiction? Show of hands. Okay, usually it's over 65 to 70%. This is a study guide, it has all the information.
Where are you out of?
I live in Ridgewood. I just moved down here from Cleveland. Quality of life, and I wanted to keep my car.
Yep.
So,
Not on the street though.
not overnight. Thank you for asking.
Have you, talked to the schools?
Not yet. That's difficult to ask because, you know, I'm not in this community and schools are selling pretty, it's Roy. I mean, we don't know who Roy is. It's not like I'm me, NAMI coming in and saying, we're a national organization that's recognized for prevention.
So do you work with NAMI? Do you work with
I do
Southwest?
personally, but we're trying to beat down stigma of mental health in employers. That's my specialty. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you. Oh, do you mind if I take this down? I'm trying to be very quiet. No, go for it. You're good. Yeah. Okay, so the first part of public speech. Here, the whole business, Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 30/2025?
An ordinance repealing ordinance 12-2021 and chapter 148, property maintenance review board, codified ordinances of the city of North Canton in their entirety, and amending various sections of part 17 property maintenance code for the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton for the purposes of dissolving the property maintenance review board.
The ordinance.
Yeah, so this is the third reading of this. We've talked about it, that we just looked at this because that board really wasn't meeting and the people who were asked to be a part of it really weren't getting to do anything, so we talked to them to see if we can't help connect them with other opportunities, and are getting rid of this board that's really not being used. I'll make a motion, if there's no other questions, to adopt the third reading of ordinance 30/2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 33/2025?
An ordinance authorizing the vacation of a portion of Stonehill Street Southwest within the corporate limits of the city of North Canton.
Let's read that.
Okay, this is the third reading, and nothing has changed. That I know of, nothing has changed, right?
Nope.
So, I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 26/2025?
An ordinance finalizing the annexation of one parcel owned by the city of North Canton, located on Whipple Avenue Northwest, Wise Avenue Northwest, by establishing the zoning of the parcels as general business B and establishing the city council voting ward as Ward 1.
Okay, fresh off the public hearing, this did not get any comments, but this would be to rezone to general business. Be pretty self-explanatory. Any comments from administration? Anybody else? I'm gonna make a motion to adopt first reading, 6/2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 34/2025?
An ordinance amending chapter 707 mobile food units, specifically section 707.05 fees of the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton to remove the registration fee for mobile food unit registration.
Okay, ordinance rules.
Yeah, is there anything, administration would like to say about this one?
This is just the $25 one. The long-term one still stays in effect.
I gotcha. One of the things I liked the most about the information provided was just that the point is the registration for the safety reasons, and you don't want people to avoid the registration because they want to get around the fee kind of thing. So you get the public safety part without people feeling like it's a
They get the
penalty.
inspection.
Right.
So this would eliminate, we had that park one last year, or 2 years ago, that we passed, that we had that registered for the park.
We still have that.
We
That is the
still
one
have
if you're
that.
going
This
to.
did not affect that.
No, it doesn't affect that. In fact, today we put up a new sign at Dogwood Park. There has been some question about them pulling down and taking up parking spaces and playing loud music. At Dogwood Park, there's now a new sign that says no mobile food units beyond this point. They're to stay where the designated parking spots are in the upper level of Dogwood. There's also a designated spot for them to park over here. Price and Dogwood is where they can park all day. That is still a permit we have. And a fee.
Do we need this ordinance to relate back to individuals that have already paid insurance?
I think
So-
we've had anything for sure.
Yeah, so it was added in between. There's no amendment that needs made, just coming from committee. I just took your comments and added that into the ordinance. I think you said
It
it was
is in
somewhere
there.
around
I
$600.
read that part.
625. Well, I guess it's 650 now because we had one person do it since we started this conversation.
I'll make a motion, if there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance 34.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Liam, would you please read the title of resolution 35/2025?
A resolution rescinding collection of certain property tax levies for the remainder of their terms.
This is what happened after we passed the income tax levy. We will no longer collect 1.5 no fire levy, and it's 1.5 no longer levies for emergency and medical services. So that's the beginning. I motion to adopt the first reading of resolution 35-20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 36/2025?
Ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $16 million for the purpose of paying the cost of constructing, furnishing, and equipping and otherwise improving a new fire station with related site improvement and necessary appurtenances and related improvements thereto, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
This is how we start to get our money for our new fire station. Any other concerns or issues? Yep. Gina?
Yeah, I do want you to note, this has also had some new language added in there by the attorneys. It's a bond purchase agreement is the language they added because we had a local resident inquire about buying the bonds. So to open that up to our residents or anybody who wants to invest in the fire station, we needed to add language. So it wasn't in the committee bond purchase agreement. You'll find it throughout here, but that's the only thing that has changed. And we don't need the emergency on the first reading. The third reading would take it right up to that day.
Yes.
So maybe on third reading, 4 days after, so maybe on third reading, if we could do an emergency and get it done, then we're not real close to that deadline and we don't miss something.
Liam or then someone had to mention that before, so.
I do like the idea of even as residents buying a bond.
Sure.
Why not? Contribute and invest in your own community and buy your own bonds. It's a great idea. Thank you for doing that.
So I motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance 36-145.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 37?
An ordinance authorizing the soft billing of residents and property owners, including commercial businesses, for EMS and fire services, including responses to motor vehicle accidents, ambulance transports, fire rescue services, structure fires, scene safety, and other related billable services, excluding fire prevention services.
Okay, it's pretty much as it states, and Catherine, you did a great job explaining that last week. Any other concerns or issues? Okay, a motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance 37-2025.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 38, 2025?
An ordinance authorizing appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the period beginning January 1st, 2025, and ending December 31st, 2025.
Okay. We will discuss some expenditures that weren't expected and others that maybe we received monies for. Sheena, any other thing you want to get? Go ahead.
I do, I'm sorry. We
No, we
did
got some
receive an
supplementals.
additional donation for Main Street beautification in between committee and this reading, so I added that, just so we don't get behind on that one.
The 500?
Correct.
We count all monies.
We do.
That's good. And it was an addition, right?
Yes.
Good, yes. Okay. So this is just common how we ensure our finances. Any questions, concerns?
I think it's great that somebody already contributed to beautification since it was just recently announced. So it's gaining momentum. That's a good thing. We need to get the word out.
People want to buy our bonds and are donating to beautification. We like this. Okay, a motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance 38-2025.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'm going to make a motion to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. And I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 38, 2025 under suspension.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 39?
An ordinance amending the City of North Canton's employee handbook and policy manual in order to amend and repeal certain obsolete and conflicting provisions and declaring the same to be an emergency.
As it states, administration spent a lot of time working on rewriting our personnel handbook. I think the amount of work that went into it, reducing the number of pages and making it more clear for those that need to read it. Is there anything administration would like to add? Discussed it in committee.
I just had one little graphic to show you that back in, I think it was, since 1980, this was the personnel handbook.
Oh.
You know, tell, I will pass it along. This was the type they guess.
Did it
nobody
come with a
had
magnifying
the
glass?
need for. It's very interesting. That's all there was.
They can
So,
keep it in their
a few
pocket.
more rules, regulations, federal laws, and regulatory compliance today in 2025. And yeah, it's a little pocket thing, but that
What
was
year?
it. This is 1980.
I mean, that's not that long ago.
It's true. I know. I feel like that was yesterday. Yes.
Wow.
There was the grievance form. You needed to fill it out. I don't know how you
printed that or ditto machine.
Pass it down. It's just a
Oh my
little,
gosh.
show and tell tonight, that's all.
I like it.
Found that in the archives, thought it was appropriate timing.
I think you said pocket edition, and that literally is keep it with your pocket, in your pocket while you're at work.
You got a little bigger. That's funny.
Nice to share. A long way. And, any other questions from council? A motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance 39.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll make a motion to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 39, 2025 under suspension of the rules.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hey, Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 40, 2025?
An ordinance amending chapter 155 personnel regulations of the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton in order to remove internal administrative policies outlined in the city of North Canton's employee handbook and policy manual and declaring the same to be an emergency.
So going hand in hand with the new employee handbook are the changes that need to be done to chapter 155. And that puts the administration side of the handbook, and it still keeps the dollars associated with that in council's hand. Streamlining the whole process. Anything else from the administration?
Nope, covered it.
Questions from council? Motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance 40.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll make a motion to suspend the rules. Council requiring 3 readings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. And I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 40, 2025 under suspension of rules.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so,
Is there anyone remaining from the public hearing? I know there was some confusion. If you'd like to speak.
Oh, she spoke.
She spoke, okay.
I think some of the confusion was they
I
thought
think
this
so.
was that, so there's no one else signed up
Yeah,
for.
so nobody wanted to speak?
Jolene, yeah, she said.
Okay. All right. Let's go to department reports. Mayor Water.
Yes, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Thanks for your patience. Just a short thank you. We had a very successful Mayor's Annual Fishing Rodeo. It was the 54th year for it. I want to thank the North Canton Eagles for their support of this. And we had about 120 youth involved. We had beautiful weather. Again, Brian Hill and the Park Department did a fantastic job getting everything ready, well stocked. Appreciated the support from Fin Feather and Fur. And of course, police and fire were there to assist. And we just had a great morning. That's all I can say. Our administration was there to help out in a number of ways. So without naming everyone by their individually, I just thank them for supporting this. And once again, it's just an annual fun family event. And I don't think anybody went empty-handed with a door prize. So 54th year, next year will be 55. So again, President Chris Smoot from the Eagles and the Board of Trustees, thank you very much again for being the sponsor for this event. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
Sure. Good job.
Nice short. No report.
We did this next session, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
Click on that.
Your turn, Ken.
No
That was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I said I'm short.
Bet Gina.
I have to match Catherine.
Good
I
work.
got nothing tonight.
Nice.
All right, Ben.
Keep the report.
I'll do it.
I'm gonna break it.
Oh.
Just want to let everybody know that the community survey is live. It can be found on the city's website, as well as with the North Canton Sun. Physical mailers went out, so you can
You look good.
take your survey mail back.
Mhm.
That's all I got.
Okay. Jamie, start with you.
Yeah, I wanted to thank all the folks who reached out and everybody who came this evening to speak about our parking issue. So
appreciate all the comments there. And I did also want to say something about the mayor's fishing rodeo. That's a pretty cool event. I will just, some people who know me really well will know why I'm not a fisherman, but I myself am not a fisherman. I see John laughing down there because I told him why, but I had never been to the mayor's fishing rodeo before. That was a really, really, really cool event. And I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor for allowing, well, I guess I didn't fish, but thank you for allowing me to be there and partake in the activities.
I had spare poles for
Yep,
you.
yep. But I just thought it was cool. I mean, within 30 seconds, I think there's a kid right in front of me pulling a fish out. So it was a pretty cool event. So great job.
Big
And thanks to the
catfish were
sponsors.
caught that day.
So, yep. But that's it.
All right, David.
I do have several things to go through tonight. They're all great news items. So we did finish the civil service promotional testing and interviewing process, and I get the honor to read Chief Kemp's letter. That he was pleased to announce that the selection process for the position of Assistant Police Chief has been successfully completed. Please join the city and Police Chief Kemp in congratulating Matthew Bussard on his well-deserved promotion and acceptance of this important leadership role. Departmentally, Matt will wear the rank of Major. Matt began his career with North Canton Police Department in 2012, where he was sworn in as a police officer. In 2017, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant, marking the beginning of a steady and impactful progression through the department. Now, throughout his tenure, Matt demonstrated a deep commitment to professional development, taking full advantage of training and educational opportunities. He's a graduate of the Police Executive Leadership College, and he has earned his master's degree in Justice Administration. As Sergeant Matt's responsibilities expand significantly. In his most recent role as Administrative Sergeant, he supervised the school resource officers, acted as the police leadership supervisor to the communication center, and oversaw numerous essential administrative functions. These included budgeting, procurement, special projects, maintenance management, and serving as the department's wellness coordinator. It's an impressive list. Matt has also been instrumental in advocating the department's community engagement efforts. He played a key role in founding the community engagement team and has served as the department's public information officer. Matt's dedication, leadership, and forward-thinking vision makes him exceptionally well-suited for this new role. We look forward to his continued contributions as he steps into the next chapter of service. The official swearing-in ceremony with Mayor Wilder is being scheduled. Do we have a date?
Yes,
Can we share?
Monday, June 16th.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you check with that, Liam?
23rd.
23rd.
Is it good? I thought it was the 16th.
We did end up changing, I think, last week.
Okay, thank you
The
for
end of
informing the mayor. I stand corrected. It is not going to be.
We'll send an invite.
I guess the clearest answer is if council meets next week, it will be next week. If there is nothing submitted for council's agenda next week, which it currently looks like there won't be, then it'll be the 23rd.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll put in my old-fashioned calendar here, okay? For the 23rd at 6 o'clock at the Civic Center. Is that going to be right?
Like we said, if there's a meeting on the 16th, it would be the 16th. If it's not, it'll be the 23rd. So that's what we're waiting on.
That's fine, thanks.
Well, if you get a chance and you see Major Person, please congratulate him on his promotion.
He's the first ever second in the police department, so big deal.
Okay, in other news, on May 22nd, 2025, two of our water treatment plant operators, Stephen Nutt and Gatlin Wire, pronounce it correctly, received their certification in Collier 24 from the EPA. Collier 24 is a process of testing for E. coli in our drinking water and our bacteria testing lab. That's a more efficient way of testing from my understanding, but a more accurate one at the same time. So having our water department and having control over that is a wonderful thing. So congratulations to that. The North Canton Alumni Association has announced that Fire Captain Gary Cohen of the North Canton Fire Department is being inducted into the Hall of Distinction. 1997 graduate with over 30 years of firefighting experience and current president of the Stark County Firefighters Association. On June 6th, Ben Young, our own Ben Young, presented with Sean Ferguson, Walsh University's Director of Marketing at the International Town and Gown Conference, on the partnership between Walsh University and the city. I'll put Mr. Young on short notice, but if you could just elaborate one moment on what that included and maybe one or two of the big highlights.
Walsh put together the PowerPoint, admittedly, but I can say what ultimately ended up getting the most questions about was our zoning code. And that we are very unique in that we have a parks institutional district that exists only for us and educational institutions. And that has been a big part of helping Walsh expand and helping Walsh improve over the years, and the massive capital investments they put into our community. And that's what the audience was certainly most interested in, was how our zoning relationship with our university works, because a lot of communities unfortunately have zoning confrontations with their hometown universities, especially as they start to sprawl.
This presentation came about when we received the award from Walsh for the distinguished service that Mayor accepted at the commencement. And we said, town and gown, and Ben's a great example of that. So I said he would love to do this presentation, and he was voluntold, and he showed up and did a great job.
We have a great relationship.
Yeah, love it.
Thank you for stepping in. They also have a letter of recognition from two of our officers. Officer Nance and Sergeant Misner. So, Meisner, thank you. So, just kind of briefly read part of this nomination. Demonstrating initiative and diligence by making contact with several residents during a particular incident to gather crucial information. Their attentiveness led to believe that a victim may be in danger. Despite receiving no response from the residents, they persisted and their vigilance paid off. Person in distress and made swift, justified decision and was able to end the whole situation. I don't want to read a whole lot of detail in this for personal reasons, but their actions reflected a high standard that our police department is well known for and continue to follow through with. They demonstrated not only exceptional professionalism, but also deep, genuine concern for the well-being of our residents. Commended for that. On behalf of the City Council, I wanted to put that into the record. I think that our residents need to hear great things about police officers too. I think President Stroya, that please get first.
Thank you. Ward 3, Melissa.
No report.
Ward 4, John.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the administration. It was at Mayor's Rodeo, fishing rodeo was a great time. Like, a lot of people from the city and seeing all those kids and stuff. Going through the ward, we really need to get the street sweeper out. Gutters and sewer, I know we've had rain, but we need to get it out. It's gonna solve a lot of problems for the future, because they're in bad shape. So if we get the street sweeper out there, that would be great. Other than that, that's my report.
Stephanie.
Report.
Christina.
Oh, I have a report, guys. Sorry. I want to talk a little bit about Dogwood Pool and kind of where we are right now. So I'm going to be a few minutes. I apologize in advance, but yeah. Well, we've got a long night ahead of us, but we need to talk about this. So Dogwood Pool holds about 600,000 gallons of water. just a lot of water and a lot of weight. So this year, the liner was repaired under our current warranty well before the pool was filled. Do you know, Catherine, when it was repaired exactly?
The first time?
Yeah, the first time. It's okay if you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say March, April, as soon as the cold weather.
Yeah.
Well, the first time would have been right after close of season.
Right, in the fall.
Okay.
Spring in the fall, that's the very first.
Okay.
But then the first one for 25.
Okay.
Early spring.
So we were on top of repairing the liner is the point that I'm trying to make. Then in early May, we filled the pool with 600,000 gallons of water, and the weight of all of that water caused multiple tears in the liner. So we had kind of an oh no moment. We had to then drain the pool. And at that point, I was invited out by Ben and Catherine and Steve Shank and Brian Hill to kind of walk the pool, which was a little bit awesome and a little bit really sad because the liner, there were just tears all over, really. So we had to have someone come in, repair the liner again, and fill it again and hope that those repairs would hold. And most of them did, not all of them. So then the day that the pool opened, we had a scuba diver out who went in and repaired tears. And right now it's holding. But these issues, I know we've been talking about them for a long time, but I guess I just want to say this is a real issue. It's a real issue, unfortunately. But we are really hoping that it's going to hold through the season. We hope that next season we'll be able to repair things and open again. But I want to make it clear how committed this administration is, how committed Brian Hill and Steve Shank of our Parks Department are. I mean, we are doing everything we can to keep this pool open for our residents. So I guess I'm sharing this for a few reasons. One is I've seen some comments that the pool is cold. Yes, the pool is cold. There are a few reasons for that. One is 600,000 gallons of water is a whole lot to heat. And then any leaks that happen through liner issues result in us adding more new water, which is cold, back into the pool. Draining the pool mid-May meant that we did not have any sunny days or warm days. I don't even know if there were any early in May, but if there were, that would have warmed up the water, but it had to be drained, and so we did not have those days. And then, unfortunately, just the weather's been terrible. So there's a boiler, the water, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the pool water circulates through it and back in as it goes through the filtration system. But clearly 600,000 gallons are not going through all at once, and when it's cold, it's getting cold, and there's no way to keep it all warm. Second thing is that, I already said this, but I just want to reiterate, there are no guarantees that that these repairs are going to hold this season. I really think they are. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm not saying, oh my gosh, yes, what?
You're jinxing it, that's why.
Am I jinxing? Oh, I thought you were holding up your fingers. Okay. No, I'm not jinxing it. I'm not jinxing it. I love the pool. I've been to the pool. I got in the cold water. It's fine. I don't even care. I think we're going to be okay. I hope we're going to be okay. But I don't want it to be a shock. Like, no one told us that this was happening if, for some reason, this liner continues to fail again this season. Then I would also like to just thank Brian Hill and Steve Shank. They run all of our parks. They have to make sure that they had to get them all open for the season. They had to do, everything that they do in addition to spending a whole lot of extra time taking care of the pool. And they've done it all, and they've done it all with grace and really with passion and concern. They do not want to be the people who allow this pool to not open. So I'm really grateful for them. There are currently not safety issues related to the liner the liner issues, but if there were, obviously, we would not be able to continue pool operations if there were any safety issues due to something opening up or, obviously, but I just want to put that out there. And then here's the good news, right? We are a week out from the deadline for our Parks Master Plan request for proposal deadline. So we will be bringing in a team of professionals who will look at all of our parks, all of our open spaces. We're going to gather data from other municipalities, stakeholders, residents, and then we will be prioritizing what are we doing in the future? How are we going to have a public pool? Is it this pool? Is it another pool? What are we going to do? Because we've got to find a long-term solution here. So fortunately, I'm just really glad that we did put that Parks Master Plan in the budget for this year, so we can have some really great people coming in with good experience, helping guide us in what our plan's going to be for the future, because we are certainly committed to public pool beyond this year. And I think that is all. So don't mean to be a downer. I think it's all okay, but want to let everyone know where we are.
On that repair, right, are we holding was that repair work done by the company sworn in, or was it outside?
Well, let me say, on that repair that was done, as well as any repairs that are done, we do run the risk that you're patching where there's been a seam tear, and then you have feet that are on it. And so what we've done on that repair that you're speaking of, which was the most significant, our Parks Department, goes to show you how they're trying to do everything they can to keep this open.
Mm-hmm.
They've taken some 5-gallon buckets and they've anchored down a rope system that kind of says, like, don't go in this area, like, don't, because they don't want anyone stepping on that repair that's on there. And yes, we've been trying to utilize the company that we use the liner for, so we have the warranty. And we're trying to do all we can, like Christina said, to keep it open.
It's not leaking right now at all?
There is some leakage by some small areas where it's torn, as well as the amount of water that when people get in and get out and kids jump and splash. So there is water loss right now, yes. We can't avoid that.
But not more than there would have been a year
Right.
ago.
It's kind of holding right now. We check every day. We call and say, how's it looking? If it is a significant leak, they're eventually going to see it, because what goes out to what comes in are 2 different sized lines, and it can't fill as fast as it could lose potentially. You would start to see it going down. Right now, it's holding good. So again, fingers crossed.
I think that's all.
All right, thanks for the update.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I drove by the Mayor's Rodeo. 130 participants, was that true?
One of the largest ever.
That's incredible. And the parking was, I mean, there was no place to park. It was very exciting, so excellent job. Yeah, congrats to Officer Buzzard, for sure. Also, Mr. Keller. I don't have much to say, but I appreciated the participation of the public hearing. Especially when we get something that, we're torn on. We didn't know either way what we were gonna do, so it's good to get public feedback and kind of guide us. So, thank you all for coming and your patience throughout all this and for speaking. That's all I have. The upcoming calendar, so as of right now, we do not have anything on the agenda for next week. But we're going to hold it open in case we do. Is that where we're going with this?
By council's rules, the deadline is tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Okay, so we'll know tomorrow at 5 p.m. Then, yeah.
Next week.
Yeah.
June 20th.
Then June 23rd, we've got a regular city council meeting, and the 30th, we have no meeting. I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
No, we need the executive session.
Oh, sorry. also not in my, yeah, it is. Yes, it is. All right, so, I'm gonna make a motion to, well, I'll make a motion to enter into the executive session of preparing for discussion of purchase, sale of property as permitted by ORC 121-22 G2. Second. Roll call.
Member Wyrick?
Yes.
Member Owens?
Yes.
Member Clayster?
Yes.
Member Stroya?
Yes.
Member Warren?
Yes.
Member Matheny?
Yes.
Member Orr?
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, and then we need a second motion because there's going to be two topics. I'll make a motion to enter in an executive session for the purpose of discussing the purchase or sale of property as permitted by ORC 121-22. Second. And we'll have a roll call.
Member Wyrick?
Yes.
Member Owens?
Yes.
Member Clayster?
Yes.
Member Stroya?
Yes.
Member Warren? Member Matheny?
Yes.
Member Orr?
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
All right, at this time, council is in executive session. Let the record reflect that we'll be joined by directors of administration, directors of finance, and the council and the mayor. So we are in. Okay, make a motion to adjourn from executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, let the record reflect that no action was taken, and we are going to the meeting's comments. I'll make a motion to adjourn.